Welcome to the Sri Lanka Magical 30-Day Journey. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you about this adventurous project that we're in the midst of here with the local school. And this was actually what I had intended to share with you all yesterday, but yesterday's storytelling took a turn, a really heartfelt turn. Thank you for being present with me if you were in that one. So for some context, we live in a little Buddhist village called Gonagala. The nearest larger town, if you looked on a map, is Bintota or Aluthkama, and that's on the western side in the southern part of the country. We actually live next door to a monk's house here. So I'm going to give a little side story about that. When we first landed here on this property, there was a head monk, the main monk that was there, main monk for the house, and lots of little, we called them podi monks, which were young boys in their orange robes. And I think if I understood it correctly, they were orphans who were under sort of the tutelage of this head monk guy. It's always an interesting thing. I'm really mindful about speaking of Sri Lankan culture as a foreigner. And I want to express to you here now and for all of the future episodes that any way that I speak about the Sri Lankans or the Sri Lankan culture is in a deep respect. And also in from a place within myself where I understand that I'm a foreigner and that my descriptions and interpretations of what I see are just that, my descriptions and interpretations of what I see, and that there is so much more to the culture that I really don't yet know. I wasn't born of this land and these ways, but I am very enchanted by this land in these ways, and I want to know more. And every day I'm in this sort of heart receptive mode of giving and receiving on every level, with the food, with the exchanges, with our home team here, with the various cultural facets in terms of how we are to behave with one another. And there's just always very interesting things to learn about the culture. So please keep all of that in mind as I describe these things, okay? With the little podi monks, I remember going over to the fence earlier on when we were here and thinking, oh, so cute, little young monks. And I had all assumptions about how I didn't even know were there, about maybe how young monks might behave. And I go up and I say hi, and one of them just spit at me. And it kind of snapped me out of something. And I realized in that moment how assumptions work within the psyche and how they influence our engagements with one another, for better or worse. There's been so many. There's this treasure, which I hope to be able to articulate more eloquently at some point, which is the treasure of being sort of jostled out of your comfort zone. Like I am continually being sort of knocked out of my known comfort zone here in Sri Lanka. And there's a way in which I get sort of opened up to receive and be nourished by this sort of grit of life, to enrich the soil of my being. It is a very fascinating thing that we are such a product of the culture that we were born into, the assumptions, the beliefs, and then the spin-offs, the projections, etc. So I think one of the most beautiful things about traveling to cultures very different than your own is that one, it can help you to see it can help you to see places where you can actually receive more from the variety of life than you thought. it helps you to see places where you've pinched yourself off or closed yourself off because of judgment or expectation or fear of differences, really, which is a big deal. So here we are in this little village. Sri Lanka has been through a lot. I mean, if you look through the history, a lot. But if we even just take a snapshot of the last 100 years, from the 30 Years' War to the tsunami, there's many other smaller, but nevertheless really significant things that this country has absorbed and recovered from. The Sri Lankans are some of the most resourceful humans that I have ever met, if I was going to generalize. And by the way, I want to say too here, whenever I generalize, I cringe just a little bit, because within generalizations, there's always exceptions. And yet to convey to convey certain things, it's very helpful to make generalizations at times. But yes, the Sri Lankans are some of the most resourceful humans that I know. I just delight in it, and I learned so much from it. COVID really impacted Sri Lanka very in ways of great hardship. And they were closed for 18 months. And then again this year, so we're in 2020, towards the end of 2022 now, after we left in February of this year, there was a collapse within the government and tourism stopped. They were having power outages for 5 to 8 hours per day, no petrol, no natural gas. I mean, really tough stuff. The Sri Lankan government stopped suppressing the rupee to dollar ratio, so that doubled. So you had instantly, like within a couple of weeks, things doubling, tripling, and now some things quadrupling in price. There's a lot of mismanagement, major mismanagement and corruption at the government level and within the governmental institutions. So here brings me to the local school. The local school is a governmental institution. And while I'm sure there's some kind of money flow that goes to the school, I'm not who knows how it's handled or what happens, and that's not really any of my business. But what I will say is that it's reflected in the state of particularly the washrooms, the restrooms at the school. Tongue twister. So I'm going to show you the school washrooms and the project that is underway right now, which you can be a part of, is the Gonagala Washroom Project. And our friend Landy, who's been here a couple of times and has really gotten to know the village and the villagers in such a sweet way, he ended up getting exposed to the school, seeing what was going on, and went right into action, creating a GoFundMe page to raise, from the perspective of the US dollar, it's not a small amount of money, $5,000, but it's not a gargantuan amount of money. And I can tell you that money will go a long way here. The plan to completely upgrade the washrooms. I'm going to end up showing you before and after pictures. Landy and my husband are there right now with some workers doing the work. We were there yesterday taking it all in. I'll show you those photos. So I invite you to be a part of this project. It feels so good. It feels so good. And you can be a part of the project in a couple of ways. You can either donate in any amount, even $5, like feel the feeling of generosity in this way, especially during the holiday times when there's all this sort of kind of neurotic obsession with consumerism. Consider using some of your money to contribute in such a powerful way like this. The other way that you can do it is through buying some of our Monara essential oils, because we're donating 10% to this project on any sales between now and January 1st. And you can also see the links for that there. And I just think that's the coolest thing, like buy oils and then some of the money can go to the project, and it just feels good all the way around. So here we go, screen share. Ready? Let's make this a bit bigger, shall we? So this is kind of the, from what I understood, the auditorium for the school. And then here's one of the restrooms. So this is how it exists. They don't, the plumbing's not even attached. So the boys pee into the pipes. and this pipe runs out into the street. It smells awful in here. Here's now, these squatters are really common in Asia and common in very common in Sri Lanka. But I don't know if it's quite captured here. It's the state of the restrooms in terms of the cleanliness standards, and I think it's in this one that there's no running water, if I remember correctly. This is the outside of one of the restrooms and all the garbage that's there. So there's no like custodial or janitorial service that's cleaning up. So part of this fundraiser is to actually provide a job and hire somebody to come and clean for a couple of hours each day after the school ends. This is a thing that's actually, because there's no place for the girls to put tampons or pads. And so they get put in this. I don't even know what this thing is. There's another one of the restrooms. Now we're getting into something. So check it out. You've seen the before. I'm going to show you the after. I'm so excited to show you the after when it comes. There's going to be plumbing, new plumbing, water brought into some of the restrooms that don't have it, everything cleaned, new faucets put in, and also a sanitary napkin disposal system put in, new paint, and a door put on a couple of the restrooms that don't have doors. Okay, so this is actually some of the beautiful artwork that was at the school. Just so lovely. I love how the kids color through the whole page. Everything has color on it. This is our friend Landon, and then a local friend here. This is where the water comes out for hand washing. There's not access to soap, and the well itself is in really bad shape. Actually, what Rory, my husband Rory, is doing there today is helping to clean out the well. Here's one of the sinks, and there's Rory. There's Rory and Raksha, who's here visiting with us right now. So sweet. One of our friends here, one of our beautiful friends here. He actually went to this elementary school. He's just here volunteering his time and helping. Right before this picture, he was helping us pick up these, they're called Sri Lankan olives. And we just tried them today, boiled with a little chili and sugar. Delicious. This is one of the restrooms. Let's see if this video will play for you. This is oh no, okay. I'm not sure why, but that's okay. This was one of our friends was up here shaking the tree to make the olives come down so we could get a bag of olives. Here's Raksha with a bunch of them in her hands. This is into the art room, but I do have some pictures inside. So here's the beautiful pictures by the students there. This is, it's a really, really sweet and reverent practice that I've been exposed to for my first time ever in Sri Lanka, which is where it's respect to elders. So it's where a younger person will bow down at the feet of the elders. And I think this is in relationship to a sacred holiday, maybe their New Year. This is the Sri Lankan flag. And here's another one. I know this is with the New Year. I know how to say Happy New Year in Sri Lankan. Suba Aluth Arudak Weva. It took me a while to learn that one. Suba Aluth Arudak Weva. It's in April, and it's kind of like the equivalent of our Christmas, just in terms of how much activity there is and gift buying, and it's a big deal for families. This one is so cool. The trades and daily happenings of the Sri Lankans with food. Here is Poya Day. These are these special lamps that are hung around Buddhist temples and homes of the Buddhist people. Poya means full moon. The full moon day is the Poya Day. Poya Day here is really something special. The Buddhists will wear white and have a special day at the temple. They usually won't work, or they'll work less. People bring food to the monks, and you spend time at the temple. It's a very reverent day. There's usually drumming going on all day and prayers coming from the speakers of the temples. This is a really sweet photo. If I remember correctly, I do think this is, so I'm pretty sure this is drawn by the son of the beloved family that stewards this house when we are away and also when we're here. They still come and help us with all kinds of things here. And their youngest son is such an incredible artist. He's 11 or 12, I believe. And this is a picture of basically the Buddhists, the Muslims, and the Tamils all together in a friendly way. Just the sweetest thing. Because, by the way, they're not always together in the friendliest ways. There's been a lot of hardship between the groups, just like everywhere in the world, the religious fighting. But here is this vision of him, his vision of them being together in community and friendship. I just loved this one for the proportions. This is, I just couldn't help but take a picture. This is the electrical on the wall in one of the classrooms. That gets to the end. This is kind of fun though. This is what you can cook on when you're cooking over wood. So they'll build a little fire here and you could have something that's getting less heat here so the steam can go through or the heat can go through, and then something you're actively cooking here. During this year when there was no natural gas, everybody had to return to cooking on fire, which I think that a lot of Sri Lankans prefer. It's just that it takes a lot longer, from what I understand. Treacle.